We've talked about how customer intent is changing. We talked about where people are finding growth. Now we're going to talk about search dying. So to lead this funeral procession, you're welcome, we have Ken Pilot, founder and managing partner of Pilot Ventures, previously of, American Eagle, Gap, Ralph Lauren. And I also heard earlier if anybody has a pitch, he's also will invest in your business. So make sure to find Ken afterwards. We'll bring Ken to the stage right now, along with Christine Russo. If you've been on LinkedIn, you've seen her face. She's one of my favorite B2B influencers. Welcome to the stage, founder of Euro Retail Partners. And my new friend, Dan Cook, senior consultant from Simpactful. Let's hear about search dying, guys.
Hey, good to see you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session. We're going to try to talk about some things we haven't heard before. So we're going to bring some tactical perspectives. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I have a disclaimer.
We haven't even started.
So my disclaimer is I really don't know a lot about deep technology, but I play a guy on TV that does.
Okay, you know what this does?
Turns
off your mic. This goes like this. It turns off your mic.
I mean, companies that you mentioned, thanks for the intro. If I was ever called in a technology meeting, I would have been super pissed off. I hated tech. And all they would do is they'd bring you into a meeting to basically yell at someone to fix it. And then like it would work. So, years of hating tech and now 11 years of investing and advising in it. So, but I don't know a lot of
Never say never. Never say never. This is my emotional support clipboard, and there's like things going on here too. So we're going to make the assumption, for whatever the purposes of this discussion, that LLMs are the new storefront. Okay, nothing is just one thing, but we're going to start with that thing, and we're going to talk about how they read data and how data contributes to the success of LLMs and this AEO, GEO conversation. And we know from Chris Silver's prior comments that that's a critical piece, the data piece. And we know that it can be messy. So I like to say the LLM makes kind of a query, or you make a query and then it goes to look for the information, and you can have bad data, and bad data is like, what? I can see if I can find it, and searches, and it's like all over the place, maybe in several different rooms. Or you have really great data organized like with a clipboard, and it's like color coded, and you can get that information out. So we're going to start by talking about that. We're going to skip introductions, go online, look everyone up, they're great. And we're going to use our time. We're going to use our time to really get into the content. So I'm going to list discussion point number 1. LLMs are the new storefront, and the rules of visibility have changed. We're in that box right now for the purposes of this conversation. You're no longer optimizing for a human typing into a search bar. You're optimizing for a machine deciding what to surface to whom and why. We're going to start there, and we're going to start with Ken. The PDP was originally built for conversion, to get the shopper to the page, to close the sale. How fundamentally does AI readability change what a great PDP actually looks like? And we have a slide. Ken.
So here's a PDP. What's really different, and I'll get into more what's underneath it later, which I think is the AI piece. I think there's, as I said earlier, I'm a product person, so I love product. I love looking at product. And now in the digital world, I think the PDP is the most important piece of what everyone sees. The majority of your online traffic right now is going right to the PDP. Over 50% of online traffic goes right to the PDP. So once your customer arrives there, you have to shine. You have to give them every reason to convert. So little things like social proof, and that you see on here, how many customers are shopping this, and it's #1 bestseller. Okay, affirmation you've made the right choice. You've got to give them video, you've got to give them sizing, you've got to give them reviews, multiple pictures of what it would look like, recommendations of other product that'll help satisfy what they're searching for. So I think creating a great visual experience at a minimum is table stakes. So that's what customers see. And again, with the PDP being so important, if your PDP is not robust, you are lost and your product just won't help, it won't convert.
Catalog readability is important. Websites are built for humans. So in order to be seen, yes, all the information can and should be there, and it also needs to be readable by our friends, the agents, who are going to take over the world. Dan, you have years of experience making product content perform across Amazon and Walmart. who have way before all of these conversations led with ML and AI for years. We're just kind of catching up. And that's just because we all moved into a Gen AI and now agentic AI world, which makes it more democratized. Does LLM-driven discovery actually democratize visibility? Meaning, can a smaller brand now compete with the ones who dominated, such as Amazon and Walmart? And does it give them the same advantage move to the little guys? Maybe call it upstream or downstream.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question, Christine. It's a great question, and I think this is the one that a lot of brands are experiencing, seeing, and definitely causing alarm for them, right? When we think about historically, when we think about e-commerce, what happened, right? As the rise of e-commerce and the adoption of e-commerce grew, brands started to realize that they could really dominate by having really big retail media budgets, search budgets, so that they would, come up to the top of the search results and search rank. And it was kind of like, okay, I can still maintain my relevance. I was big in store. Now I have a way to kind of maintain my relevance online, plus doing all the stuff that, Ken was talking about. But what AI-led discovery and LLMs or LLM-driven discovery is sort of showing us is that a micro brand, a new challenger brand can have really tight data, really structured data, can really have a really clear value proposition. And because these LLMs are really designed to give the recommendation answer that is really precise, search, when something would come up, whether it be Tide or Nike or any item, you could still be in the consideration set, right? You think about in search results, yeah, you'll see the first 3 to 5 items, but you'll see a long tail too, right? And you can go to how many pages you want. It's not that way with AI. It's oftentimes giving 1, 2, or 3 items, and then it's saying, oh, by the way, I know you well. Ashley, looking at Ashley. I know you well. This is the number 1 recommended item. This is the one you should buy. So if there were 100 items that would have been in consideration, 97 in that example aren't being seen. That's scary, right? And so I just think it's with what's happening, that lower the barriers to entry have lowered. But that said, I don't think it's completely democratized visibility. I think that what everyone has talked about today, trust is still important. Reviews are still important. Signal to the consumer is still important. It's just that the weighting of the buckets that we traditionally think about are shifting.
It's interesting. When we talk about AEO and GEO, I don't know that OpenAI and Anthropic, and I don't know that they really care that much about this piece of the business. And I think the standard is being set by Rufus and Amazon. It's getting great feedback. Everybody's like, oh, wow, this is really just working. So that's going to become the new psych set where it's like, oh, I want it to do exactly that, but in a neutral place and for all the... Ken, do you want to comment on that? Have you used Rufus?
Yeah, but I think that's happening at a different part of the search. Rufus is when you've found the product. And when you're on Amazon, you found whatever the product is. And now while you're on the PDP, you want to query about that product. You want to ask questions about it. How do I put it down? What's the right adhesive to use, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that helps with conversion. Critically important, whether it's Rufus or Sparky or whatever other cute name is out there. As part of the journey, brands have to figure out, how do I improve the journey on the site? Starting with a search bar. What search bars can actually really handle an LLM? I mean, right now you go onto a site and you go looking for a white pant for a summer wedding, and you're on Macy's and you see no item found. There's a white pant there for a summer wedding. But in that search bar and the way you put it out there, it came back with no results found. So I think retailers have to think about, how do they create an experience very much on site that the customers are comfortable with using offsite? Maybe it's a question we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, we are actually.
But I think that Rufus is really important, especially for where you're going to have product. We had the gentleman from LG was on. If I was looking at an LG product, I would want to query information about that product while on the PDP and not leave. I would expect that LG would have something that can handle that query that's right on the PDP.
You have a lot of faith in on-prem information gathering, but we want to expand this, and this whole kind of meeting today is about off-prem, okay? So I'm going to move on. We'll give you an opportunity to weigh in on another question. So for you, Ken, if an LLM is essentially reading your product content the way a search algorithm always has, are some brands getting that right today? And what specifically are they doing differently? And we have another slide.
This is the nerdiest thing I have ever done.
Nerds
And
rule, dude. Nerds are cool guy.
But don't worry, I'm going to read it all to you. Just kidding. We do want lunch. But this is what's so cool about this and about what the LLM's reading. Again, to the left as you're looking at, that's just the PDP. And everything to the right is what's happening behind the PDP. And that is what is attracting your SEO, your SEM, which, by the way, are still vitally important. Don't mark that down yet. I know we're seeing great growth with AEO and GEO, but from a baseline of 0, it's easy to show. SEO and SEM are still critically important, as are certain things, just your product taxonomy and how clean your data is, and we've talked about that. But if your PDP is not addressing all of these categories, your product is going to move further back in search results. And my feeling is very simple. You can't do this at home. This isn't done manually. Claude can take a shot at it, probably not going to continue to maintain as many companies are working in this space. I'm going to do a selfless promotion, but I'm going to also give you an RFP. I invested years ago in a company called Lily AI, and they do this for you. They basically put your PDP on steroids, and that's what this is about. Whether you use Lily, or you use Feedonomics, or you use Valoo, or you use Fabric. I'd like you to use Lily, because run an RFP, find the best partner, but get your product on steroids. If it's not on steroids, it's not going to get found by those bots that are coming in. And by the way, your traffic to your site, that is exponentially bot-like. I don't know, 30, 40% bot traffic going there. And that's all that stuff is what's pulling bots in. So if you want to play, you need that back end.
Okay, I agree.
Okay, good.
I'm going to ask
Thank
the next
you.
question to
Thank
Dan.
you.
Yeah, it was good. Selfish promotion. It's okay.
But I gave you an RFP. I gave others to choose.
Okay,
You
fine,
make the
fine.
choice.
Nothing
Okay.
wrong with a little shameless stuff.
Why not? No, for real, there are great solutions out there. Get on Google, search for things. Okay, Dan, where are you seeing brands actually adapt their product content and data practices in response to this shift? And where is the gap between what they say they're doing and what's actually happening on the ground?
Well, this is one I think a lot of us are familiar with. I think there's a lot of strategizing when it comes to AI-driven discovery. There's a lot of discussion, not as much execution, not as much operationalizing that I'd like to see. And I think, really thinking about this moment, when you think about what everyone has said around LLMs and AI-led discovery, it's very, systems-driven, systems-focused. And a lot of the teams that exist today that go after, digital or e-commerce or commerce in general, they're disparate, they're siloed. It may be an SEO team, and then the content team, is completely different, and they focus on different things. I think what you're going to see in the future is that these teams work harmoniously together to really create that experience to the point of what Chris and the first panel and everyone was talking about. It's highly machine readable, that it's all these other pieces and components added to the item page, or so that LLMs can read them, can pick it up. So I just think it's really about beginning with the end in mind, really thinking about what needs to be true from a data standpoint, knowing our data's messy, our data's still got a long ways to go. It's going to become even more important for us to focus on that.
I agree. I definitely think silos, can, sit at the gap back in the days, and it's like you've got merchandising and planning, and you've got a whole org structure built around the procurement and movement of product to get it in front of a customer. And we actually don't even need organizations like that, even without AI. We actually need organizations that put the customer at the center, not the product, and actually build out all things that go to speak to the customer, in which the product is a piece of that. And I think that's just going to advance. The changes of restructuring are being advanced because siloed responsibilities won't exist anymore. I completely agree. You want to weigh in quickly on that? Okay, fine. Let's move on. Discussion point 2. Catalog and PDP readability get you in the game. We've established that the rules of visibility have changed, and that getting your product data structured and readable is the entry point. But it's complicated, and AI doesn't return 10 results, and you just mentioned this. Sometimes it's a handful, sometimes it's one. So readability doesn't necessarily get you chosen. What determines what makes that cut? Dan, we spent a decade writing the rules of e-commerce. Which one of those rules, or which ones, still apply in an AI discovery world, and which ones are actually dead? When you look at what AI-led discovery actually rewards, is this an iteration or generally a new paradigm?
Christine, these questions are so provocative.
Listen, this is what I do.
You know, I would not, and I was talking about this at dinner last night with a few folks. You know, I would not say that the rules to e-commerce are dead. I think it's an and, not an or. I think we really need to think about what we need to serve this moment well. Like I've said, I think the fundamentals, you know, to the point of the item page and the on-site experience and all of that still matters. But I think the and is, okay, but now what? What do we need to do as we think about, again, the weighting of these different buckets, knowing that I do believe that discovery is moving upstream. I think that social, certainly LLM or AI-led discovery will be happening, and that more of that will move off from on-site to off-site areas. And I think, you know, being prepared for that is what we really need to focus on.
I like how Josh said, by the way, he sort of was like, we're using 1996 strategies and it's working. And I think that's really interesting, and it complements what you just said. You want to comment on that, or are you ready for your question, Ken?
My question sort of is a comment too.
Okay, let's do it. So from where you sit, Ken, when you look at how AI is reshaping discovery, do you think the industry is generally reckoning with how different this is, or are we still trying to fit a new paradigm into old frameworks?
I think when you look at, first of all, not everything is AI, especially when it comes to what we're doing today. When I look at e-commerce in general, one thing that really does surprise me is how little it's changed visually. I'm not talking about how efficient it is and all the other cool stuff that's going on, but we go to a site, see a page, you go to a PDP, you click it, it goes to the cart, and it comes home. It's not sexy. It's actually pretty flat. And I'm amazed to this day at how little video content and energy and brand moment. And it's coming, but it's not like where it is in Asia, where it's dominant, but it's remiss. It's not there. And I think as you think about creating this emotional connection to a brand, which is the most important thing a CEO can do, is to create emotional connection to product. And now we're talking about do websites, will e-commerce sites even exist because people will be buying it through the LLMs? Give people a reason to come to your store online. Create emotion, create some theater, create differentiation. So video isn't necessarily AI, but it's emotion. And I think that, and oh, by the way, video does drive AI. So you can actually kill two birds with one stone. You can create emotion and energy on your e-commerce site. You can inform customers through it as well. It does drive conversion. We see how important it is to Gen Z on whether it's TikTok or Reels, the power it has with YouTube. These are incredible ways to create discovery and drive traffic online. And oh yes, agentics do pick up on it. So long-winded answer. I think brands are looking at ways to just broaden their funnel. You know, there was a mention of Reddit. How important is Reddit to driving traffic? It's important.
Very.
So between all of these things, it's a funnel, and you want to play there. I don't know who is doing the brand audit. It was, I think, the gentleman from Mattress Firm was talking about it, but who looks at your product and knows where you are showing up, where you're not showing up, where you could be more efficient and more powerful so that you can get this AI traffic as it grows to really come to your site. And I think that that's still a very big opportunity to do a brand audit and understand where you're playing well and how you are moving with the time versus getting caught behind.
Ken, you raise a really great point, and I just want to take a second and talk about the funnel. The funnel is definitely wider. I heard someone call it a pinball machine, where it's just the customer is bouncing around, from different touch points coming down into the funnel. So picture like the pinball crossing through those like thingies. So when the ball goes through those thingies, which is normally in pinball a bad thing, that's the act of a transaction, right? But all of those touch points, whether it's YouTube or social or whatever, even word of mouth, let's put every type of possible touch point. The funnel is built to send them to the website, which is flat, and it's just become like going to the bank. You go there to pay.
Right.
So e-commerce lost the ability to be a place of entertainment, and it all went to social. So oops, missed that. And then if the industry turns all those other touch points into payment points as well, what's left? What's left? Because you're not going to go there for the flat experience. You'll go maybe for some information, but if that goes off-site, then really what's left?
One thing I've seen that's interesting is if you're going to a retailer's site. And the other thing too, just going to back up for a second. We talk a lot about LLMs, and I think they're incredible, but it also is based on how articulate a person is and how well they can actually explain what they're looking for. How good of a prompter are you? There is probably a fairly large part of our population where they may never get off of the two-word search for, it's just the way it is. So how do you help people in other ways solve the problem versus a 28-word prompt? And I think, so if you're on a site, I can't I might not want to type in, I'm looking for an outfit for a spring wedding, that is blah, blah, blah. I might just want to see something on a site that goes spring wedding, beach party, and be able to click on that and then see it merchandised to that occasion or event. So then a site's now solving a problem. I think that's important also. So I see two ends of discovery. I see one end that's driven by very creative prompting. People understand what they're looking for. You can articulate it. And then I see another one where I'm just not quite sure, but when I see it, I'll know it. And that's pretty broad. So I think e-commerce sites can begin to figure that out. I don't know how that exists out there in an LLM if you can't fully articulate what it is that you're looking for.
You're talking about the art of browsing. We're losing that. The industry is becoming targeted, where it's, and this goes back to pre-ecom, where you built a store and it's like so much pressure on like the set, the merchandising set, and what's in front, and the whole design process to tell a story, and then the mannequins support it, because we're speaking to a browser, and we want them to go, oh, that's cute, and then try it on, take it home. That certainly has been under pressure for years. This puts even more pressure, but maybe websites can kind of rejigger to create that information meets story, meets entertainment, meets, hey, you didn't know you needed this, but now, I've heard like, oh, I'm going to Home Goods. What are you getting? I don't know.
Why would you go there if you knew?
Yeah.
What's the point? That's the whole fun. It's like
therapy.
Don't you love looking at what people walk out of Costco with? It's like you went in, you're already spending $500.
I do not allow myself to have a Costco.
You just go in there
membership.
and it's like, those you ever see those rollers on the back of the taxi cab driver's seat? So they sit there. Like,
we need one.
How do you do?
I need one.
Of course you do, but that's the shit. That's discovery. That's the browse, and that's fun.
That was this industry. Dan, save us. Save us.
Gone down a bad rabbit
great.
hole.
Thoughts on browsing?
I think curation and storytelling will remain important. I agree with both of you that there will always be a place for that. And this is where I think that, again, to Ken's point, the store experience, the online experience, it will be very important for retailers to continue to think about, how do I serve things up? How do I leverage retail media, right? Through all the demand creation, demand generation that's happening, how do I make sure I'm really ready to convert it and pull those people in? Or if they want to browse, if they want that experience, how do I still give them that too? So I think it's a little bit of both.
All right, good. He's positive. His positive perspective.
This came up earlier, but it does amaze me that so much of our discussion is really online centric. And yet the majority of businesses in
It's still
stores.
physical. Absolutely.
And I don't see, I'm surprised, frankly, that there aren't more tools for associate customer interaction that are AI driven. For example, if you pick up this jacket and you go, oh, I love the jacket, what would I wear it with? We have tons of tools online to complete the look. I can name 10 companies that can complete the look. But in the store, you're relying on that one associate in the moment, and they're like, yeah, I just started here a couple weeks ago, but let me get someone to help you. Like, no, complete the look frickin' right now, or I'm gone. And it's like, where are the tools that already exist, and where is the adoption, or how are we helping associates get ahead of the curve? Every associate in your store should have the ability to be an expert in the moment.
Okay, but again, just not to be like nostalgic, but
Don't be.
I'm gonna.
Go forward.
Also, I'm gonna. So the complete the look and a lot of these online tools are replications of what the in-store experience was back in the olden days.
The in-store expert.
Right.
The expert.
But everyone was an expert. We sat through features and benefit. The line would come out, the line would be coming in, and you'd sit and you'd have features and benefits seminars with your manager, and they'd talk about this and that, and they'd talk about how to sell it, what was a feature and what was a benefit, and what went with what, and how this delivery went with this other delivery, and you can stack looks off of whatever. Training. And so then, and clienteling, the client book, the Beat Last Year book. And then, so ecom digitized all of that. And then physical retail was like, what? Customers? Outfits? Huh? I just need a warm body in here so people don't steal.
Oh, warm body. Thank you, because it is warmer. I am now a warm body. It was freezing in here earlier. But you know, one of the things that you think about is that it's hard to find sales associates, right? Because the tariffs got rid of them all. Because everybody was making cuts based on how expensive things were getting on the buy side. So when you get an associate, that associate has to be awesome. And I just think that AI can be used in store, figure out how. Even screens. I don't see why I can't walk up to a screen at Best Buy and just ask a screen who could look like an avatar, hey, I'm looking for a 15-inch TV. I want to spend about $60. Just kidding, they're not that cheap yet. I want to spend around $350. What's the best out there? And just have a conversation with a screen that can understand your entire product catalog, that can give you all the benefits of each, it out just like an LLM would online. I see an associate coming over and say, stay there, I got this guy, he's really good. So how are we bringing in, it's just, I'm passionate about the stores. I love the stores, I love the ability to just do things on my own, but I also want people there that are experts when I need them. I don't want, I don't know, I'm not sure, I can't solve your problem.
It happens, yeah.
I think that's a prediction. I think you guys just heard it here first from Ken. I absolutely think that will happen.
Say it again.
Technology and the tools that associates have being more AI enabled to improve the experience, to do everything you're talking about. Technology, absolutely, it's going to happen.
That's gonna be a wrap. We're gonna leave it there. We're out of time, but we'll be here after. Tip your waitress.
Thank you.
Thank you.